Hey guys, what's up? This is Free Nachos and we are playing 2 tables of Russian cash here. I played a little bit before setting up the video. And the goal of the video, as with previous videos that I did playing these stakes, is just show you guys how exploitable these games are and show you some of the exploits, my thought process. We have a bunch of guys winning quite a bit. There's some graphs that we posted in the public Discord. I think we have one guy that's winning like 4 big blinds pre-rake back. And by the time this video comes out, I think he's going to be streaming quite often as well. His name is Gary Chappell, Chaps, a 1988. I run it once Elite Coach as well. And then we have some other guys that I won't tell you who they are, but Gary has been relatively open about this, so I think he'll be okay me mentioning this. So versus the average recreational, betting small here would be a criminal, because after betting small they're going to put too much money into the pot in pretty much every node that follows betting small. So I'm just going to check and then bet the turn and river always. And yeah, just take it from there. And here, do we want to bet very large or just 3/4? I think I'm just going to bet 3/4. Like, by the way, it's fine. Like, you could go bigger with this hand as well, but 3/4 is probably fine. Definitely gets overfolded there. Whenever your opponent is in position and it's recreational and you're on the river deciding whether you want to bluff or not, typically the answer is bluff, and typically the answer is 3/4 as the best sizing. There's many exceptions and it's much more, not even complex, because like, we have all the answers in our CFP, but like there's going to be a lot of differences between different lines. But on average, that's like the heuristic that I go with. And then if he's out of position, then overbet is usually the way to go. So much out of folding here that I think we can get away with this. If I had known that this was 8 hands, I might have not taken this approach. Here I am going to check. There's going to be some king-eye textures that I'm going to be range betting on, but this is not one of them. There's too many middling cards basically. And so I would be checking range. I'm just going to be playing a very simple strategy of bet range or check range in this formation. And here I'm just going to go ahead and bet 2 times now, I think. It doesn't really matter whether this is an, I think exploitative, this works just too good. And I'm just going to do it like this. And so I don't really mind betting a hand that technically shouldn't be bet there. That's a good call by him. And it's a hand I'm making indifferent, so like if he's calling it always, then obviously that would be a concern. One thing to consider though is that most players are going to check back too weak here. Maybe at the end of the session we'll go into a sim, but you can't bet every king, for instance, for sure. Taking one out of his whatever. Now we have the odds, kind of weird, but I think it's kind of whatever. I guess when he has 17 big blinds, I think it's probably, but he plays like so tight that yeah. Not too thrilled with my play there. Luckily we chop it up, which is kind of lucky. Like regardless, and then some guys are on the 3-betting big blind and also on the 3-betting overall, and I think for those guys you can probably pitch those hands in a high rake structure. It is definitely debatable though. If you show me a chart where it's a pure call and it's, I don't think it will always be not close, but yeah. Sorry, it will always be close, so I don't think it can be plentiful there either way, but yeah, I could see it being a pure call. Anyway, here we go for a range bet. This is just going to be almost a range bet in equilibrium. Our overpairs are just going to be doing so well, and like our entire range is doing so well because effectively we're playing versus a pre-flop range. Here I'm just going to go with an overbet and check, and my hand is just going to overbet always with the king of hearts. I think like most ace king is going to be betting very often. And turn is another overbet there. Here I am just going to pure barrel this. I think my range is just doing so well. I kind of want to pressure him. It's a tight formation, so there's not that many high card hands that I have. Like obviously there's some, but the tighter the formation there, the more we are going to be barreling on blank runouts, because we are just have like a high concentration of over cards. We are not 3-betting king jack offsuit as we would button versus cutoff or something like that. So it becomes more and more a spot where if you have a range advantage on the texture as the in-position player, which is most textures, your range advantage is going to be pretty significant. Like think of it like this, let's say we are only 3-betting pocket aces and our opponent is only calling pocket 7s, then every texture that doesn't contain a 7 for the out of position player, you are just going to be betting your entire range always. And that principle holds true as well, where if the ranges are significantly tighter, then the times that you do have a range advantage, the range advantage is going to be more pronounced, and therefore you're allowed to bet more often. Whereas if ranges are very wide, it's relatively tough to get like a 70%, 80% range advantage or something like that, simply because there's just too much noise in both players' ranges, too many hands that are weak, regardless of the texture. Cold call, but I'm just playing 3-bet or fold unless I face a min. Here, this is not an open, it's just a weak. Like if this is one of those Chinese guys playing 18-12 over 6k hands, then I'm opening any two, but this guy seems relatively normal still. So this would be a bet 50 and check in equilibrium. Do we want to deviate for any reason? I can't think of many reasons, so I'm just going to go bet 50. Here we open a hand, we get 3 bets, well, we call that off. Yeah, it's just relatively standard. When we'll lose one. That's a rare flag, Sri Lanka. I wouldn't be opening that much wider on this table. But I think like the mistake that a lot of players make when playing these games is not be nearly as flexible with their strategy as they should be. And you should be very flexible in these games. In poker in general, for sure, but like especially in these games where you sit on a different table every time and playing versus different players every time, you just need to be very careful. Very flexible. I'm checking back here. I could be betting for 3/4 here. That would be reasonable. I decided to check here. Although like I'm playing for small blind, I'm not that sure versus small blind. I'll be completely honest there. Betting it would be okay, given my backdoors, but I decided to check here. Turn I'm going to check here as well. My opponent is a very good player, I think. I really like his style. I can resonate a lot with it. So at this point, the cool thing here for playing versus this player is that I could still be beat, which might sound crazy to some, but if I get check raised large here, I am going to cry a little. And he's definitely one that is going to find some check raises there. I think I'm going to fold. And the reason, I'm just going to fold here. I'm going to fold here. I have some history with him where I made a very light call in a similar note. So if he remembers, then I think he's probably assuming that I'm not going to overfold. Still, I think he's going to have bluffs, and he's good enough to have bluffs. But cold calling from the small blind, it is relatively tough to find the bluffs. Like there's going to be some, I guess there's going to be some pocket 9s, pocket 7s, maybe pocket 5s that he might find there, depending on what his cold call range looks like. But I think it's more intuitive to find pocket 8s, pocket 6s, maybe some ace-x. It's kind of a weird spot. He's putting me into indifference, which he does really well, and I just decided to fold here based on the reads that I had and my perception of the spot. But I could very well be wrong, and he might make me fold the best hand there, which is why it's annoying to play versus a guy like this. Like you are not going to find a lot of guys that are going to find that check raise there on the river, and I think he might be at least finding it at the right frequency, maybe even a bit too often. Here, this is a cool spot. He has 27 hands, he plays very weak. This would normally be a call, but I'm actually going to 3-bet quite large because he's just going to overcall, I think. And here you have it. Here I'm just going to bet small because, like I said earlier in the video, if you bet small as the out of position pre-flop raise, it doesn't matter if it's a single-raise pot or 3-bet pot, then recreationals are going to put too much money into the pot by doing stuff like this. Or if they call and you check the turn, they're going to bet way too often. So I'm just going to pretend like I have a very tough decision, but I'm never folding. He could have a king, he could have pocket 6s, he could have like all sorts of shit. I'm just going to pretend that I have a tough decision so that he is a bit more incentivized to put money in. This is really gross now if he jams, but like not folding, kind of shitty. He's going to have a king quite often, I imagine. Yeah, okay, that's a bit unlucky. Yeah, just won it once. A bit unlucky. It is what it is. You might view this as like, that's really punty, but probably you're biased a little bit by the result and you haven't seen the data. Like if you've seen the data specifically, if you have a guy that has a VPIP of that guy, then it's just going to be way too much random shit in there. The turn, another thing to consider on the turn is that I don't need to win 50% of the times, right? I don't need to have 50% equity there. I need to have, what is it, like less than, like I need to have like 29% equity or something like that. So the moment that that turn rolls off, I'm not very happy about the spot anymore. It's not like I think I'm going to win more than 50% of the times. I think I'm going to win more than whatever I need. Like doing some quick math here, this is like 70-ish%, so like 29% or something like that. And I think I get that, right? So I'm sort of saying there, I know that I'm going to lose 2 out of 3 times here, but that's fine because it's a pooled game and he's still going to be bluffing sometimes. Or I bet some random hand. Not even sure whether we can call it a bluff occasionally, because like I said, he will have some random, like if he shows me pocket queens without a spade, there would be or like pocket nines without a spade, I would not be very surprised. I would just be, yeah, it's just going to happen sometimes. He's just going to bet random shit. Every time I play this, I really feel like playing 4 tables and just like grinding it out. It's just the EV is lower than playing higher stakes, and I kind of want to challenge myself and play higher rather than keep playing the same level. So you'll see me pick 2 different 4-bet sizes, called 4-bet sizes here, in 2 different spots, and the difference is position. So here I have position, and therefore I can go very small. Here I'm out of position and I need to go a bit bigger. Also he goes bigger here, but yeah, like that definitely has an impact as well, but that is not the... I'm saying oof because this is very close in equilibrium, and I'm not sure if he's it's like so easy to be jamming too strong of a range there, which makes me want to fold. It's too easy to just click call with ace king pretty much always and jam aces always. So I'm just going to fold. It's a nitty fold. I'm not entirely sure about it. In equilibrium, it's probably just a call and winning like between 0 and 1, maybe 1.5 big blinds. I'm not entirely sure where it is. So it could be 0.2, and then I think the fold is fine. If it's like 1.5 big blinds, then it's a bit tougher to justify folding. I still think it's okay. It's not ideal. I'm blocking some folds, but whatever. I think also he's not checking as many queen X as he probably should, so especially not for the timing. So when you get a quick check on the river, like we basically got in both situations, but let's go with this one. Inside check here, like he's not going to have pocket tens, which you should have at some frequency. Ace queen, which probably should check at some frequency. Maybe something like king 10, king jack should check at some frequency, although less often I think. Check call, check bet. In a wide formation, I am able to call. I might even be able to raise here, blocking the straights. Generally going to raise hands that are sometimes calling, sometimes folding. So hands like this are probably going to be fine raises. I prefer to have like 6-5, 7-5 or something like that. Maybe 6-5 is probably perfect, but this would be okay as well, I think. Always show the bluff when you're never playing in this pool again. Well, maybe for the occasional video, but very seldomly. And that's a spot where I think the pool is going to overfold on the river in general, like when we raise the river. I have never seen this guy, and he's not sitting in a full stack, and he's Dutch, which, no offense to my country, usually means he's fishy. So I think we just call, but I'm not entirely sure whether we can call there. I think versus the player type it's probably fine, but okay, that's cool. Sad. Maybe very low frequency 4-bet in equilibrium, but mostly just going to call, and I think we just call versus the player type as well. And I'm going to tread this very carefully. The reason is he has a 7% 3-bet, so he's definitely going to under 3-bet this like very tight configuration. Very good player, highly respect his game. He should probably bet range here. I'm still going to fold. He's making my hand indifferent in equilibrium, and it is definitely going to be indifferent versus this player type. Quite comfortably value betting the river because he's never checking an overpair. Interesting spot at this SPR versus a more nitty player. Kind of a weird spot to be in. I'm just going to bet small with my hand, which should be fine. If he check raises, I'm crying a little bit because I don't think that the player type is going to find enough check raises here. But yeah, this could be queens, this could be kings, this could be aces, this could be ace 5, ace king, king queen. I'm never really far ahead, which is kind of annoying, but I need to call 57 to win 92. So I need like 29% or something like that. So I just call, and then this is like the worst case scenario. Not the worst case, I guess. Like the worst case would be when he has a club as well. or pocket tens or something like that. But oh, we get lucky, it seems like. So yeah, this is going to happen there. If he's 100 big blinds deep, it becomes a bit closer, I think. In Equilibrium, it's like a slam dunk call, but where's the player type on a texture like that, it becomes quite gross. Seems like a pretty solid player, so I'm just going to call. I don't have too many raises. I should probably just go bigger here if I want to raise. I think I'm just going to do that. I think we are going to call a bit more when... this is such a weird spot to be in, to be honest. I think, oh man, such a weird spot. I think betting and checking are both fine here. I just rolled relatively high, so I'm just going to bet, but not too thrilled about it because I think he might overfold there. So I think checking would be fine. With a diamond, I think we were raising a little bit more on the flop. I definitely would be calling my sevens without a diamond quite often there. I just don't want, like, we don't have that many hands that want to raise. Like, it's just very few hands. So I think making sure that you don't raise all of them and you still have some strong hands when you call there on a texture like that is quite important. We are going to go ahead and I think either way is fine here, but the queen 9 is going to be the lowest frequency raise of the two pairs because 9-10 unblocks the queen x, which is better, and queen 10 just has most equity. Randomizing like that seems reasonable. He goes half pot again. I just think it is quite unlikely at this point that I'm beat. It is going to happen once every blue moon, but I'm okay with raising relatively larger and then sometimes losing. I'm going bigger because he's going to have jack 10 sometimes, so it's not folding. Jack 9, anything with a jack is probably just going to call. King queen is going to call, so I just want to bet raise larger. If he jams here, I'm crying, but that's I think I'm just going to be beat very often here. I'm just not sure if I can fold. Yuck. I'm going to fold. Like, this is don't do this. I'll try this at home. But I think the player type is just like, it seems the reason why I'm raising there, let's rephrase it, is because I don't expect to get 3-bet at any meaningful frequency, but I expect him to go and call very wide. From like the low frequency that I have, like the low sample size that I have on him, I think it is going to be a player type that just has, it's not like a spewing will, it's just like a guy that is playing a bit more passive fishy type stuff. I think when you get a 3-bet there and he has 16 combinations of the nuts, another few of like lower straights, I think we just are going to be beat there very often. You could argue like, okay, if you're going to fold versus 3-bet, then why don't you just call, right? And I think that's like a reasonable argument. I'm not saying that that's necessarily a mistake by any means. I think just being greedy in general here, for the reasons that I stipulated earlier, where he's going to call pair plus draw quite often and he's just going to have top pair as well, which is not folding, is going to be fine. But then when you raise large and he 3-bets, I think regardless of whether you agree whether the turn is going to be a fine raise there, I think regardless you want to, now with the new information, you want to probably just fold. It is a weird spot though, and especially like it's one of the reasons why I don't like playing in this pool, because like you got to do this stuff like this quite often, whereas you can't really make a lot of light calls very often. Yeah, probably not, but it's close. Thinking about it for a few seconds, I think I played it fine. I think I played it well, taking that line, but yeah, it definitely feels very like you feel very exploited when he 3-bets and you fold there. In Equilibrium, we should have some jams. We're a bit deeper though, so I'm just and you like the 4-bets in Equilibrium are in there so that you reduce the amount of ace-king combinations when you 4-bet regularly. Yeah, I'm just going to bet with my entire range, not think about it too much. It's not ideal. He's going to have aces sometimes. Okay, let me think about this. I think I'm just going to bet. There's just not much I can do. I mean, I could check. Yeah. Do we have many checks here? Like, it's tough because we just connect so well with this texture. I think I'm just going to bet. It's kind of weird though. Yeah, like you might just get always folds and you just bet off checking. Like that might just simply be the case there. I could see that happening. I think we just bet very often there. Like maybe 70, 80%. And then we block checkbacks. Sorry, we unblock checkbacks, so we queens, jacks, 10x, he's going to check back, and we block the bets basically. so that's kind of annoying. Let's see, we're going to open this one still. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments down below. Join the free Discord server, there's a link down below there as well. And yeah, I'm hanging out there pretty much every day, so would love for you to join. And then yeah, like I said, if you guys have any questions, just hit me up in the chat. And talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.